Hi, it's Jacqueline or Galacticat. Welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be doing the Virgo Zodiacat. So today I'm going to approach this in a slightly different way than what I've done with my previous Zodiacats. Usually I would go through my process of coloring, designing, all that kind of stuff, but you pretty much know my process off by heart if you've been here for a while. If not, go check out my previous Zodiacat videos and you'll find out exactly what I mean. So today I thought I would take a different approach and actually talk about the zodiac signs themselves. I've always been somewhat interested in it. I actually had an astrology book when I was younger. I don't remember where I've put that, but my stepmom has graciously let me borrow her astrology book, so I have a lot of information that I got out of that, and also from various sources on the internet. So, to start off with, Virgo is the sixth sign of the zodiac. It runs between August 23rd to September 22nd and is an earth sign. I struggled a little bit finding the origins because there was a lot of conflicting information. Some talk about Persephone and Hades, some mention Astrea, the Greek virgin goddess of justice, innocence, and purity, while other sources went on to talk about another goddess called Nidaba or Nisaba, which this particular source said was an Egyptian goddess. But I did a little bit of research, knowing a little bit about Egyptian history and never hearing of this goddess before. I decided to look into it a little bit and found out that it was actually a Sumerian goddess of harvest. Now, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here because I was pretty deep into my research at this point, so I want to share what I found out with you. So, this source had said that Nidaba or Nisaba, the quote Egyptian goddess of harvest, was the origins of Virgo because of the time of harvest in ancient Egypt coinciding with the moon being in the constellation of Virgo. But when I was researching Nidaba and trying to find the Egyptian equivalent, I came upon Seshat. Now, Seshat was a scribe. Her name literally meant woman scribe, so that didn't really fit with Virgo either. So, for the sake of my curiosity, I kept digging and I found the Egyptian goddess of harvest and fertility, Renenutet. So, while we don't exactly know where the origins came from, I mean, there's a lot of information out there, and astrology has been around since very ancient civilizations, so it very well could be all three of those that I mentioned. Anyway, let's get back to Virgo. Mercury is its ruling planet, which is also Gemini's ruling planet. So that can link a lot of the traits and a lot of the things I'll talk about to Gemini. So if you're a Gemini and you're watching this, you might resonate with some of the things that I mentioned in this video. The glyph used to represent Virgo is an M shape with like a little loop at the end of it, and that is said to depict a maiden holding a shaft of wheat. But I also came upon sources that said that it depicts fertility and the reproductive organs in a woman. So, in contrast to the other zodiac signs, the symbol of Virgo isn't actually an animal, it's a woman, a harvest maiden. So, that's where the whole maiden holding a shaft of wheat comes from the glyph. I found that it was related a lot more to fertility of land and harvest of land rather than a depiction of an actual virgin woman. I mean, there are still some elements, especially, talking about maidens and stuff like that, that do relate to Virgo. But yeah, a lot of my research was a lot more about nature and a lot more about harvest. So think like cottagecore vibes, which is super popular across the whole internet, especially if you're in Animal Crossing groups. Cottagecore is just blown up lately. So if you're a Virgo, that's probably your vibe. Although when I was on Pinterest looking for inspiration, that's what I was going for. And when I was creating my mood board to create this Virgo Zodiacat, it was a lot more pastel-y colors. So pastel blues, pastel purples, like very muted colors, very clean colors. And it wasn't very cottagecore-y at all. I only kind of looked more into the cottagecore vibes afterwards when I was doing my research for the video rather than when I was doing the research during the video. So what I do to prepare for a video and to get the kind of mood that I want is I go onto Pinterest and I look up aesthetics. So this week would have been Virgo aesthetic, but I have a whole bunch of boards that have related to each of my other Zodiacats in the past. So if you want to check those out, I've got a link to my Pinterest in the description box below. But that's pretty much how I get my inspiration on what colors to use and what vibes to go with. And then afterwards was when I was doing all my research to do my voiceover. So that's when I came across all the cottagecore stuff. So maybe next time I'll do it in the opposite way so I can get a little bit better of a vibe. So I want to talk a little bit about gemstones because I did have a subscriber mention gemstones last time, and I said that I would talk about it a little bit in my next video. So there's a bit of it's a bit confusing because there's not specifically a gemstone that relates to each zodiac, because the zodiac spans across 2 months usually. So like the last couple of days of one month and then most of the next month. So generally people would say that, you know, the gemstone for Virgo, for instance, would be sapphire because sapphire is September's birthstone. But being a September baby, but also a Libra baby, my gemstone is sapphire and not necessarily what Libra's gemstone would be. So Virgo's gemstone would kind of be part peridot and part sapphire. But considering that most of Virgo is in September, you could say that sapphire would be the main gemstone. They also mentioned sardonyx, which is a kind of red onyx type of gemstone, and that is also a gemstone that is related to Virgo specifically rather than each month. Now, I did a little bit of research on flowers, but you've got to remember that the hemispheres of the world are opposites in seasons, so there's a lot of conflicting information about specific flowers that relate to Virgo as well. Here in Australia, Virgo is the start of spring, so we have a whole bunch of different flowers, whereas in the Northern Hemisphere, it would be more related to fall, which is where the cottagecore vibes come from, because that's very fall or autumn related. One I did keep saying over and over again though was the buttercup. And that's a nice little yellow flower. Most of us Australians would recognize it in the form of the Bermuda buttercup or the soursop. So when you're little, you pick those little soursops and suck on them. I don't know, I never did that, but apparently people did. If you did, let me know so I can judge you. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so that's a buttercup. I was actually quite shocked, and I liked that flower infinitely more after finding out that it had such a cute name, but in reality, it is still just a weed. But anyway, that's our most recognizable buttercup flower. Lucky you, Virgos, you get a weed as your flower. Anyway, I actually looked a little bit more into this because I wasn't really happy with the whole yellow vibes of it. But I ended up finding the forget-me-not flower, which is also related to Virgo. So I did my little cat's flower crown as little forget-me-nots. And look at that, my voiceover coincided with my painting. I didn't actually plan that. I just had a page of notes that I was going to read through, and flowers just happened to be at this specific point, and it just happened to coincide with the fact that I was painting it. So now you have something to relate to on the screen to what I'm talking about. In terms of a spirit animal or, you know, kind of animal that relates to Virgo, it was a bit harder than the typical zodiac sign. As I mentioned before, it doesn't have an animal like a lot of the other zodiac signs do as its symbol. It has a maiden. So I did a little bit of research, and going with that cottagecore vibe again, it mentioned a lot about small animals. So think like little woodland animals, birds, mice, that kind of thing. It gave me really witchy vibes. Like I can imagine this, you know, cute little Virgo witch kind of tending to her crops in a forest somewhere or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of a cute thought. Or even like Snow White singing to her little bird friends and stuff. I'm not sure if Disney princesses have star signs or birthdays, like actual set in stone birthdays, but I reckon Snow White would be a pretty good Virgo. I'll finish up by talking a little bit about the typical traits of a Virgo. Now, when I talk about this stuff, I'm talking specifically about the sun sign. So there are also a whole bunch of different ruling planet signs. You've got your ascending sign and you've got your moon sign as well. And if you don't resonate with a typical description of your, like, you know, your star sign or your sun sign, then you're probably more inclined to your rising sign or your moon sign or something like that. So it's interesting to know what those are. I'll leave a link in the description so you can figure out what your other signs are, and maybe you resonate with those a little bit better. But here are the typical traits of a Virgo. Virgos are usually nervous beings. They're hardworking, analytical, and perfectionist, which can make them a little bit critical of themselves and of others. Because of this, they would probably put a lot of pressure on themselves and their peers. They value hard work and they really want to succeed, but they also want other people to succeed, and that can come across as kind of harsh. But while that may seem like their exterior, they are actually quite thoughtful underneath, but they may not necessarily show it straight away, and they need that kind of love and affection to be able to open up and show that particular thoughtfulness. A Virgo will generally dislike asking for help and would prefer to figure things out on their own. And while Gemini is their equal sign because of the Mercury ruling, Virgos, in contrast to Geminis, do not like being the center of attention. They also dislike uncleanliness and are somewhat clean freaks when it comes to organization. So their workspaces will always be very clean, very ordered. They kind of have that mindset of a clean workspace equals a clean mind. Being an earth sign, Virgos typically like being outdoors. So they like long walks in nature and they're fascinated by all things natural. They feel most at home in like the countryside or forest or something like that, with a lot of nature surrounding them and a lot of fresh air. Virgos are typically family oriented and they'll do anything to help out those whom they're close to. They will definitely protect their own and they will go above and beyond for those that they really care about. But again, it may come across as a little bit harsh because of their personality traits. In terms of compatibility and relationships, Virgo's opposite is Pisces, which means that relationships between Virgoans and Pisceans are typically spicy and can be a little bit hard to handle. This can be a really good kind of opposites attract type of thing, but it can also be absolute chaos. A good match for a Virgo is a Cancer, which is really cute because I have friends that are a Virgo Cancer couple, but the Cancer will kind of mute that harshness of the Virgo and will show them that love and affection that the Virgo needs to be able to open up their inner feelings. Other good matches for a Virgo is a Tauran and Capricornian. Basically, a Virgo needs that soft, kind of more emotional sign to be their equal in a relationship, and they can use that to communicate and work really well together. So that's pretty much it for our Virgo description today, and I'm just finishing up the painting now. I decided to go with a very soft, very muted coloured galaxy and cat. A lot of my other cats had a lot more texture. I wanted to keep this one very smooth, very untextured, and very, seamlessly blended. So I went with this nice little pastel bluey purpley lilac color, and I really like how that galaxy in the background turned out. It's just that really muted pink, and I like the way that I put the little constellation behind it as well. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this episode. I know it was pretty different to what I've done in the past, but I'm interested to hear if there's anything that I missed and that you would like me to talk about next time, or just your thoughts and what you took away from this video as well. So thank you guys so much for being here again, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so I can see you here next time. And if you can't wait a week for more art related content, I am going to be starting streaming on Twitch really soon. I think tonight will be my first Twitch stream. So go to the link I've left in the description box below and go follow me over there if you want to keep up to date on my art and if you want to interact with me live. So I'll be playing stuff like Jazz's Arty Games app with you guys, and I'll be taking your suggestions on board for little character designs and stuff as well. So it's going to be a really fun time. Come chill with me over there. I'd love to see you.